Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's June 11th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And quickly before we get started, had a good trip down to Brazil. Spent 10 days down there. Got back yesterday. Trip went smooth. Believe it or not, normally I come back just about every year. I've got some kind of thing in my throat, but so far, knock on wood, um, no throat problems this year. Let's hope it stays that way. That's a tough trip. That flight down there and back is about 2 day trip. It's a 10-hour overnight flight, and then we had about a 6 hour ride to where we were going. So it's a long trip, both just basically a day and a half down there and a day and a half to 2 days coming back. So um, it usually wears on you not going to bed for 2 days. But anyway, so far so good this year. It's nice to come back and be able to speak and not be completely wore down like I usually am. So I feel pretty good this trip. But I'm back. It'll take me about a month. I should be back to uh, back on track. I really appreciate that. I didn't get a lot of emails this year, so it didn't take me long to. I'm pretty much almost caught up on emails. I will be by tomorrow if I'm not by this evening. I may read a few more after this, after I do the lesson and get it updated. But I'll be back on track probably by tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest for sure. So still a lot of other things for me to do to catch up, paying bills and things like that. So from being gone for almost 2 weeks. But yeah, I appreciate you holding the emails and all because that was really helpful for me because usually it takes me literally 2 days of reading nothing but emails to catch up. So the fact that people held them really helps a lot. So I appreciate that. But let's get to the chart lesson. Won't take long today. It was a relatively quiet day, really. We did switch contracts while I was gone, so we're now in the September contract. I can't believe I'm saying that. It seems like we just started the first. It seemed like January just rolled around, and we're already into the September contract. We'll be in the fourth quarter before you can blink an eye this year. I just don't know where it goes. So, but anyway, let's get through this and we'll wrap it up again. It won't take long today. We spent most of the morning going sideways before we finally bounced and moved up and made a new high. Notice we got a two-tiered channel here. We got a break, moved to a new high, and then we sold off after that. And that's typically what you would expect. That's relatively basic price action. But let's back out. We'll talk about the trades that I saw. You had to be a little patient this morning. There's a second entry right here, right after the 7 o'clock hour, but that's your signal bar. Way too bearish. If you add these two, it looks like a pretty good bar. But this one couldn't break higher. I just think you're better off to wait. You get a higher low here again, but still not a very good signal bar. And this is right into kind of a triple top here. So I was a little bit leery of that one. You finally get the failed second entry short here. And it's basically a little bit of a breakout pullback long there as well. It's real close. You could argue for it to be green because it is back into those highs right there. But I think it really fits better playing it off that last high right across there like so, and you can see it's a little breakout pullback in that context. So again, you could argue for this to be green. It's a little bit aggressive, but it's that failed second entry short, and so that's probably going to trap some people. No reason to go short. That's a doji right there, even though you could say there's probably a double test. That's a doji, and it is a higher high than that high, so we're and this is an uptrend, and so I like that one. It is a little bit aggressive. It's real close to being green. You could argue for it either way, but I like it because if you looking at this as being the major high, because that's where the last one was, it's a little bit of a breakout pullback. Plus, it's the failed second entry short, which is probably going to give it a little shove once it breaks on through. Then we pull back and we make a little double bottom right here, right off the trend line, but it's a double test as well. Notice that low, you tested it once, you tested it twice. You could almost argue for that one, but really at that point, I would have still been looking at this downtrend, and I'd be a little leery of that one. But when we got outside here and you make that double test and get a nice bullish bar, I like that one. Another easy scalp. Both of these are good for nothing but a scalp. You're not going to get any long runners off of them. But then we come back and we get another double test. Notice that we made a, and this is also a failed second entry short. Notice that that's a double bottom, so you get a first entry short and then a second entry short. It never breaks higher, so it's not really a failure till it breaks right here. And so because that's a failed second entry short, and that's a relatively bullish bar right at the trend line again, and everything's still above the EMA, I like that one. And then you make a third touch right here, and really you could argue for this one to be a double test of this level, but this is still higher, and this is a lower high. So I'd want a little better setup and a guarantee trap, and you get that right there. Now you've certainly got a double test and a lower double high than that high. So that's two lower highs in a row, and that's a relatively bearish bar. So you'd be a little safer going short there. Again, this has been an uptrend, and this is the first real close outside, and we don't have a new high yet, so it's still a little bit risky. But there's some reasons to want to go short there. And if you had them, you could have ridden this one down. I probably would have exited once I got a scalp out of it when it started going sideways here. I doubt I would have even held any runners on that one, because it's, you're really going sideways here, and it looks like it may be, so it's pretty tight. But even if it goes to the next low, it's not very far, and it turns out that's probably a midline in between the upper and lower part of this trading range. And we're working down. You finally get a little close outside, even though I probably wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to this trend line. I'd be more worried about the range, the sideways action. But it still plays out. You get a break, move to a new low, and notice you make a low, then a little double bottom with a nice bullish bar, and that's a double test of this little double bottom. We tested it once, twice, bullish bar. And if you catch that one, this is one you might hold a runner on. I prefer to see a little failed break lower, but sometimes you don't get that. So you might try a runner off of this one because the trend has been up, and then you're getting a double test off the bottom. And then notice that low, first entry, second entry, and that's your reversal pattern, a failed second entry short. So I like that one. And it actually went back and forth here. I believe it went lower, then turned and went out the upper side. Either way, I still like it. You could have waited till that one closed and let it break above and then enter, however you wanted to do that one. And then that's a double bottom, so you can count that as a new low. So another first entry, and so there's another second entry. And notice how you got that big bearish bar that breaks lower and fails and bounces right off that trend line and then goes higher and goes out the other side. That's a nice setup. And you could really argue to enter here on the little breakout pullback, because that is congestion. I didn't mark that one, but you could argue for that one to be at least green. And then it comes back again. But at this point, I would have expected it to take on off if it was really going to go anywhere. And so I wouldn't enter. If you didn't enter in one of these, I wouldn't enter anymore. I'd just kind of sit tight. Even though it continued to bounce kind of higher, I just don't think it was worth risking. And then, of course, now you've got your new high, and then you got a little trap here off of this trend. You got a break of this trend line here on the retest trend, and you made a new high, and you come down. There's a lower high right there, but that's right into the EMA. Wait on the reversal. It pushes on through, pulls back, tests that EMA, breaks higher on that nice bullish bar, and turns down. I like going short there. Unfortunately, you don't catch the big run that comes later, but it still was good for a scalp. And then you pull back here, and at this point, you've got a break. There's still enough room, but I'd really want to wait on a second entry, and it just doesn't come. So you could argue for that one to be green, because it's not a big enough trend that you're going to probably get a second entry on it. What's the deal here? Here we go. So you could probably argue for that one to be green, but that laid the day. I probably wouldn't risk it. Um, and it would have worked. You got enough room to get out here. It does. You do get your break in a new low, and then it kind of jumps up there before it sells on off. But this is all after 2 o'clock, so um, I didn't mark anything there. So it wasn't the greatest day, but there were several nice opportunities to buy here early on. So you could still find you a couple of. You had the choice to find you a couple of 3 really good, decent trades here, at least scalps, and if you caught one of these, you might have caught a little run on it. So um, I doubt I would hold a runner here, but I might have held one right here. This is the kind of spot where you would hold one. This is in the middle where you got to be a little more careful. But we're in the uptrend here, and we were expecting a retest of the high, so I don't have a problem going long there. But I probably wouldn't hold a runner there. I would want to try to catch it on the lower move here. And so first day back, not the greatest day, but not a bad day. So nothing really out of the ordinary here. I mean, this is kind of what was going on. I haven't looked back over the price action in the last couple of days, but this is kind of what was going on before. We'd be trending one way or the other, and then we'd open and kind of go flat for a little bit before it broke on off again. And once we went higher, you might have been looking for a measured move. That would be your first move, and you can see we didn't get anywhere near that. We missed that by a few points. But that would have given you, when you don't make it, that's telling you something, and that would tell you there's probably a sell-off coming. You see, we did have a little sell-off come along. So remember that. But anyway, that's what I saw today. It was mostly uphill all day. You got the 2-tiered channel, you got the break, moved to a new high, and then we sold off. And it went a little bit sideways here as well. So before we pushed to a new high. And that's not uncommon. Notice we had to test this level a couple of times. Really, this is your low, and then you come back and test it once. You come back and test it again. If you looked at a regular chart, of course, on the you see more details here on the tick chart, so you get a double test here and a double test here both. So that's why I like a tick chart, because it just gives you more details in the price action. Where if you were looking at a time chart, it probably comes back here and makes one test and goes higher, and probably the same thing here. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. It's good to be back. We'll get back in the swing of it this week and have a normal week. And hope you had a good trading day, but I'm done for today. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.